Have you ever caught yourself looking at your own life and thinking, will I ever be able to reach where I've always dreamed of? That doubt hurts. It shows up in moments when everything seems to move slowly, when achievements take longer than expected, when the weight of waiting feels like it's suffocating your hope. Ambition is the path to success. Persistence is the vehicle you arrive in. Bill Bradley. He speaks to you now because he knows that feeling that insists on living in your chest. He knows about the nights when you lie down tired and ask yourself if you're on the right path, if it's still worth fighting, if there really is a destination ahead that makes so much effort worthwhile. He knows that sometimes it feels like dreams are too big, too distant, almost impossible. And in that space between desire and reality, the pain of doubt arises. It's easy to dream when everything seems possible. The hard part is keeping the dream alive when circumstances get tough. The hard part is looking ahead and seeing a long road with no guarantees, no applause, no promises that it will work out. But that's exactly where ambition comes in. Ambition is not selfishness. Ambition is not arrogance. Ambition is the inner engine that reminds you life is too short to settle for little. It's the flame that lights up when you imagine a better future, when you visualize achievements that haven't happened yet, when you feel you were born for more. Without ambition, there is no movement. Without ambition, life becomes nothing more than repetition. But ambition alone is not enough. How many people dream, plan, wish, and never move forward? The road is mapped out, but the vehicle is missing. And that's where persistence becomes essential, because wishing is the beginning, but continuing is what takes you to the end. Maybe right now you ask yourself, what if I don't have the strength to persist? What if I get tired halfway? That objection is real. Exhaustion exists. Tiredness is human. But remember, persistence is not about moving fast. It's simply about not stopping. Sometimes you'll run. On other days, you'll walk slowly. At times, you'll just crawl. And still, you'll be persisting. Because what matters is not speed. It's consistency. Another voice may whisper inside you, but I've tried before, and it didn't work. How many times does that memory come back as if it were proof of incapability? But here's the answer. The past does not define what you can achieve. The past only shows that you tried, and that now you have more experience to try again. Every failed attempt was not a loss. It was training. Every mistake was not proof of failure. It was a lesson stored for the next opportunity. It asks you, how many dreams were abandoned at the very moment they were about to become reality? How many people gave up at the last turn, not realizing victory was just a few steps away? That's why persistence is the vehicle, because without it, no dream survives the test of time. Persisting does not mean not feeling fear. Persisting does not mean not having doubts. Persisting means choosing to continue, despite fear, despite doubt, despite setbacks. And every time you choose to move forward, even with a heavy heart, you prove you are stronger than you believe. And maybe you're thinking, but I don't have support. No one believes in me. I'm alone on this journey. That is another objection that hurts. Lack of support stings because human beings crave validation. But the truth is, no one needs to believe in your dream as much as you do. You're the one driving the vehicle. You're the one fueling it. The journey is yours. Others may ride along, but they can never take the wheel for you. He knows you're afraid of wasting time, afraid of investing energy and seeing no results, afraid of sacrificing now and not reaping later. But time will pass anyway. And the real question is, would you rather look back and see attempts or regrets? Because regret weighs far more than any failure. Failure teaches, regret eats away. He speaks directly. You don't need to change everything at once. You just need to decide not to give up. Persistence is not about perfection. It's about consistency. It's about getting up every day and choosing to take one more step, even a small one. Because small steps added together build great journeys. Have you noticed how often the mind tries to deceive you? It says, you can't. It says, it's too late. It says, it's not worth it. But those voices are not truths. They are echoes of fear. And fear is not meant to be obeyed. It's meant to be faced. He asks you, what if you gave yourself one more chance? What if, instead of giving up now, you tried just one more time? How many times in life have the greatest achievements come right after a phase of almost giving up? How many victories arrived in the very moment after what seemed like the end? He wants you to understand. Persistence is not just about reaching external goals. It's about building inside yourself the identity of someone who doesn't quit. It's about becoming strong, disciplined, resilient. It's about knowing that no matter what happens, you can count on yourself. And here's a powerful truth. It doesn't matter how many times you've stopped. What matters is that you can always start again. Persistence is not about never falling. It's about never accepting to stay down. Definitive failure only exists when you decide to stop trying. As long as you keep going, there's still a chance, still a future, still possibility. He looks at you now and says, you don't need to be ready. You need to be willing. You don't need certainty. You need courage. You don't need guarantees. You need faith in yourself. The road may be long, but every step is worth it. To persist is, above all, to believe that tomorrow can be better if you keep walking today. He knows that inside you there's a constant conflict. On one side, the burning desire to win, to achieve, to prove to yourself that you're capable. On the other, the insistent voice of doubt, saying, maybe it won't work, maybe it's not worth it, maybe it's better to give up. That is the silent battlefield where many live, day after day. Have you noticed how easy it is to start something full of energy, but how hard it is to continue when the first obstacles appear? In the beginning, ambition warms the heart, makes the eyes shine, fills the mind with possibilities. But as time goes on, when results don't come quickly, the flame of ambition begins to fade. That's when persistence comes in. The vehicle that doesn't depend on euphoria to move, but on decision. And maybe you ask yourself, but what if I'm insisting on something that will never happen? That is a legitimate doubt. After all, no one wants to waste time on a path that leads nowhere. But here's the answer. As long as it still makes sense to your heart, as long as the flame of ambition still burns inside you, the path is still valid. Persistence is not blind stubbornness. It is loyalty to yourself. The greatest risk is not spending time trying, but spending an entire life without ever truly trying. How many people reach the end of life carrying regrets? Not for what they did, but for what they left undone. Not for the effort they gave, but for the opportunities they abandoned too soon. Regret weighs more than any failure because it doesn't teach, it only corrodes. And maybe you think, but I compare myself too much with others. It seems like everyone else achieves faster than I do. That is a silent prison that drains your energy. Comparing yourself is unfair because each person has their own pace, their own starting point, their own story. What you see in others is only the surface. You don't see the hidden battles, the concealed pain, the failed attempts. Persisting means accepting that your path is unique, that you don't need to move at anyone else's rhythm, only continue in your own. He speaks directly to you. When you feel like you're behind, remember that life's timing is not as linear as you imagine. Sometimes years of waiting prepare you for a leap that happens in days. Sometimes what feels like delay is simply growth. Persistence is trusting this invisible process, believing that every effort planted now will bear fruit, even if you can't yet see the harvest. Another objection arises. But I don't have enough energy. I feel too tired. And the answer is, no one can run at full speed forever. Persistence doesn't demand that you be tireless, only that you don't stop. There will be days when your strength is great and you'll take big steps. On others, only small steps. And on some, you might barely manage to crawl. Even so, you'll still be moving forward. Persistence is not about intensity, it's about consistency. Have you noticed how the mind tries to convince you that stopping is easier, and it really is? Stopping requires little. Giving up brings immediate relief, but that relief doesn't last. Soon after comes frustration, emptiness, the feeling of having abandoned something that still had meaning, and that emptiness is far heavier than the tiredness of persisting. He looks at you and asks, how many times have you given up too soon? How many projects were left unfinished? How many dreams stayed locked away in the drawer? Now imagine if you had kept going, even slowly, even stumbling. Where would you be today? What would you have already achieved? Persistence is, in large part, about learning to live with delay. It's understanding that great things take time. A tree doesn't grow overnight. A river doesn't form in an instant. Everything that is solid, lasting, and meaningful requires patience. That's why so many give up, because they confuse delay with impossibility. He wants you to understand. Just because it takes time doesn't mean it won't happen. It takes time because something solid is being built, something that won't easily fall apart. Persistence is accepting life's rhythm. It's continuing to walk even when it feels like the horizon isn't getting any closer. Because with every step, you are, in fact, nearer. And if you stop to think, persistence also shapes who you are. Every day you choose not to give up. You become someone stronger, more disciplined, more prepared. Persistence is not only about the final result, but about who you become in the process. It's about building inside yourself the identity of someone who doesn't quit. Have you noticed how much we admire people who persist? Not because they are better, but because they remind us of what we are capable of. When someone keeps going despite difficulties, they inspire, awaken, and show that it's possible. And you can be that person, not just for others, but for yourself. You can look back and be proud that you didn't stop when everything in you wanted to quit. Maybe you think, but I don't have support. No one understands me. And here's another truth. You don't need everyone to understand. You don't need everyone's approval. You only need to be faithful to what burns within your chest. Persistence, many times, is a solitary act, And there's nothing wrong with that. It's in solitude that you discover your true strength. He knows there are days when you look around and see no results. It feels like all the effort brings no return. It feels like the world doesn't notice. But remember, seeds germinate first in the silence of the soil before breaking through the surface. Persisting is trusting that the invisible is happening, that something is growing even when nothing can yet be seen. And when thoughts of giving up return, he wants you to ask yourself one simple question. If I stop now, will I be closer or farther from what I want? The answer will be obvious. Stopping never brings you closer. It only pushes you away. Continuing, even slowly, is always progress. Ambition is the map. It shows you the destination. It makes you dream big, desire more, visualize possibilities. But the map alone doesn't take anyone anywhere. You need to get in the vehicle, turn the key, and drive. Persistence is that vehicle. Without it, ambition turns into frustration. With it, ambition becomes reality. Now imagine your life 5 years from now. You could be living what you dream of, reaping the rewards of all your effort, looking back with pride on your journey. Or you could be stuck in the same place, repeating the same excuses, carrying the same frustration. The difference between these two futures comes down to one word: persistence. You may not control the speed. You may not control the timing. You may not control the support you receive. But you can control the decision not to stop. That is your responsibility. That is the power no one can take from you. And if you're thinking, but what if it's too late for me? Know this: it's never too late to start, but it will always be too soon to give up. As long as there's breath, there's a chance. As long as there's desire in your heart, there's a path. As long as there's life, there's opportunity. What really is too late is living without ever trying. He insists on telling you, never underestimate the power of continuing. Many victories come exactly in the moment, right after everything feels impossible. Many achievements appear when you decide to hold on just a little longer. Maybe your victory is only one effort away. So he asks you, are you going to stop now, so close to finding out? Will you let fear or delay steal what's yours? Will you give up the future because of the difficulty of the present? Life doesn't ask for perfection. It asks for persistence. It doesn't demand that you never fall, only that you never stay down. It doesn't require you to always be strong, only that you have the courage to keep going even when you feel weak. And so, little by little, step by step, you arrive. No matter how many stumbles, how many pauses, how many dark days, the vehicle of persistence keeps moving. And if you don't give up, the destination will always be reached. He finishes by looking at you and saying, ambition is what lights the flame. Persistence is what keeps the flame alive when the wind blows strong. Together they form the path and the vehicle. Together they turn desire into achievement. And the final question that echoes is simple. Will you choose to continue the journey? Or will you park your dreams on the side of the road? Subscribe to our channel and listen to other audios that will help you feel better about yourself. You'll feel motivated every single day. Check out these videos recommended for you. See you next time.